Hello everyone and welcome. Let's go through one of your questions that you all sent in this month, which is why do tendons hurt and how can it get better? All right, so first to kick this off, what I want to give you is a little bit of information about what your tendons are and how they work. Because if you have a good understanding of this, it's a lot easier to understand why they might hurt, and it's a lot easier to understand how we can help them heal. Okay, so your tendons are the thing that attach your muscles to your bone, okay? And so because they attach your muscles to your bone, their job is to transmit force or movement from the muscle contracting to the bone, okay? And so because that's their job, they respond to tension in really specific ways, okay? Now that's a good thing when it comes to making tendons stronger and making them less susceptible to injury, because by using tension in really specific ways, you can trigger a healing response in the tendon that helps the tendon heal and also helps it to become stronger, more resilient, and less susceptible to injury. Now, because we know that tendons speak this language of tension, tendon irritation or tendon pain is often a result of too much tension too soon or not enough tension over an extended period of time, okay? Now, the reason this is really important for you to know is because a lot of the common advice that people get, like, if it hurts, don't do it, or if it hurts, keep pushing through it, tends to not be particularly effective when it comes to tendon pain because, like we said, we have these two extremes of too much too soon, not enough over a long period of time, and we have to identify what's that sweet spot in between those two that helps the tendon to heal. The advice of going to either one of those extremes tends to not be really helpful because we have to find the right amount of stimulation, essentially, for the tendon to feel better. So if you've been told things like take 6 weeks off completely, or if it hurts, just keep doing it anyway, that again, that tends to not be the best advice, and someone like myself or another movement professional can help guide you through that, but I want you to have that information. Okay, so now that you have a good understanding of how your tendons work and what causes them to be irritated, let's talk about how they can heal. So your tendons are composed of collagen fibers. And if we look at tendons that have pain in them versus tendons that don't have pain in them, what we'll see are some changes in the collagen fibers, some changes in the blood flow around the tendon, and some changes in the types of cells that are present in the tendon, okay? And by using resistance training, because we know that that tendons speak this language of resistance, by using that resistance in a really particular way, the tendons can be stimulated to change these things that made them painful and irritated in the first place. All right. And how we do that is by exposing them to resistance training in a cyclical fashion over a long period of time consistently. Okay, so some examples of what this can look like and what this often looks like with the clients that I'm working with is by doing exercises every other day for a long period of time consistently. Now, the reason it's done that way is because your tendons respond to exercise in a 24 to 48 hour window, okay? So by doing exercises every 48 hours, we are building on this response that we're getting from the collagen fibers and doing that over a long period of time consistently. Consistency is really key here. Doing that consistently, the tendon will adapt, heal, strengthen, and become less susceptible to it. Now, if you're wondering, well, what are some things that I can do to reduce my risk of this type of thing? And what are some things that I can provide or include in my preventative maintenance routine to help reduce my risk of tendon irritation? And the best thing that you can do is, one, do consistent resistance training, all right? That's because, again, your tendons speak this language of resistance. So doing resistance training on a consistent basis can help stimulate the tendons to encourage health. Okay. The other thing that you can do is, again, we've talked about tendon irritation tends to be from either too much too soon or too little for too long. Okay. Now, because of that, when you are ramping up an activity, say maybe you start a new walking program or a new running program, because we know that too much too soon can cause irritation, one of the best things that you can do is very gradually reintroduce new things. It's not uncommon for someone to develop some tendon irritation after ramping up a running program or ramping up a walking or a hiking program. So gradually increasing things helps to reduce your risk of you kind of falling in this too much too soon category. Okay. Now, if we get into not enough stimulation over enough period of time, then again, it's the same thing, starting to ramp up your activity, but starting to do it really slowly. So being conscious of how you're ramping up activity and how quickly you're doing it is the first thing. And then second thing is just doing resistance training on a consistent basis. Now in this month's, exercise library, I will include below some of my favorite preventative maintenance exercises that I do in my own movement routine to give you some ideas. And now, if you are currently struggling with tendonitis, my recommendation is always to get an assessment. I do assessments online. I would be happy to talk to you about what that looks like. The most important thing is that you work with a provider that specializes in tendonitis specifically, so that they can give you really custom guidance on how to get your pain into a better place, and then how to start to progress your program so that your tendon can heal, can be more strong, more resilient, and less susceptible to injury. Okay. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me this month. I hope you all have a wonderful month. I will look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, take care.